You see it? It's all coming down. Let's go. The world wakes up, a brand new stage, new promise written on the page. We saw the cracks, turned a new age, tore up the script, got out the cage. Dig deep, they can't be stopped. A solid truth that can't be topped. For every voice they try to drop, we rise up higher from the crowd.
Just the beginning.
It's just the beginning, folks. Just the beginning. And boy, oh boy, I get to go and run an errand, turn around, and bam, the 75 pages of the Idaho4 autopsies get released. And let me tell you, it's quite a doozy. Are you ready for this? I feel like SpongeBob Square. Are you ready? Are you ready? Drop a 1 if you're ready to look at this. It may contain sensitive material. I'll give you a quick warning. Let's do, I don't know. I'm supposed to go live at 4. It's going to cut into our members only. I'll make a video real quick about the book club. We're going to read about 4 chapters a week. We've got 5 weeks in Tuesday for June. So what we'll do is if you have your book Among the Bros, definitely by Max Marshall, start reading that. This gives you another week before we start chapter 1 through 4 next Tuesday, and we'll get all the way to chapter 16 by the end of the month. And don't be surprised. You are going to see a lot of wild stuff come to light. Some people are going to be like, no way, I can't believe this is true. You're going to see some creepy things, some crime ring, murder, wealthy criminals, business culture, secrecy, frats, privileged. Those are some of the things that you're going to see. Some of you may be shocked, some not. but I'm just giving you heads up in the 16 chapters. Boy, I love to read. I'm glad we're doing a members only book club. And don't forget, tomorrow I have a members only high sensitive, shocking content. But I want you to be up on what's happening right now with the Idaho4 with the 75 pages released. You couldn't put it down, Nona Ryan, right? I mean, was this the best well written book, in my humble opinion? Probably not, but the information you will use the rest of your life. And if you, and this is just a PSA on this book, Among the Bros, if you have a son that's going to college, educate them. If you have a daughter that's going to college, educate them, especially if you are the first generation in your children's line going to college. Let them know what they could possibly be up against. I believe knowledge is power, and it will save you a lifetime of frustration. I'll tell you, if I had this book, it would be a book based on the U.S. Navy. It would be on what to brace yourself for, right? I would definitely write a book about that for sure. So let's get into the autopsies. Do me a favor. Has anybody had a chance to look through these since they dropped probably about 25, 30 minutes ago? My grandson is a freshman in college and joined a frat. So scary. You know, it's not bad to be a part of these organizations, in my opinion. What's bad is the white collar crime that takes place in these organizations. I'm not saying it's bad. Philanthropy is very important. Being part of something is very important if you have the need. But I'm just saying, know what they're getting into. Know what they're getting into. I'm just now seeing this. Okay, cool. So if you hadn't had a chance to read the autopsies, we're going to go ahead and go over them. We're going to just take a peek together real quick. I don't know what's in store for us. I just kind of glanced over them very quickly. But I do. Wait a minute. I have a video queued up real quick because I think this is important for everyone to understand. Let's watch Dr. Veena Singh. She is the one who did the autopsies.
Hello and welcome to Spokane County Spotlight. I'm Commissioner Al French, and my guest today is Dr. Veena Singh, Spokane County's Chief Medical Examiner. Dr. Singh, welcome to the program.
Thank you for inviting me to be here.
Before we get started, Dr. Singh, for the benefit of our audience, could you give us an overview of yourself and your background?
Yeah, so I attended medical school in my hometown, Portland, Oregon. I graduated medical school with a medical degree and also a master's degree in public health. After medical school, I spent 2 years of specialty training at Swedish Medical Center in Seattle. And then I moved to Albuquerque for specialty training in pathology and subspecialty training in forensic pathology. And since finishing my training, I have been working as a forensic pathologist in medical examiners' offices in Arizona, New Mexico, Minnesota, and now here in Washington.
Wow, that's quite a path to get to this.
Notice she said Arizona and now she's in Washington.
Point.
Yes.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
What inspired you to pursue a career in the medical field?
I have always been fascinated by the human body, why it works, why it doesn't work, what happens when things break down. And I'm also really intrigued always by people's stories. What are their lives like? How did they get to where they are? So medicine seemed like a really great way to combine those two.
So before we get into your work as a medical examiner, could you tell us a little bit more about your time working in surgery at the Swedish Medical Center in Seattle?
Yes, that was a really formative 2 years for me, learning about general surgery, trauma surgery.
So this is a little bit about Dr. Singh. You can go and watch it yourself. I'm going to drop the link. I'm always transparent where I watch videos from, what information we gather. So you can go and you can kind of watch the highlights to this. There is a couple of questions that she answers.
Just kind of, grinding through a case. Sometimes it's not as pretty as it looks on TV, or, they don't show you how things can smell sometimes. And so it's very interesting work, but it's not always as glamorous as it looks on television.
So you're not ready to hire an agent and go, no, okay. So you were hired by the Board of County Commissioners back in April. So can you share with us how these first 6 months have been and how you've been able to get your feet under you and get rocking and rolling. Because not only did you step into this position, but you stepped into it with a brand new facility as well.
Right. Yes, it has been a lot to learn. So just even learning the office, the structure of the office, the function of the office, and then, like you say, transitioning into the new facility and how does the structure and function change now that we have a much bigger facility to manage, and then trying to figure out also the structure and function of the county, how our office fits within the county. All of that has just been, it's been a whirlwind of learning new stuff. But I am so grateful to have what an amazing group of people that work around me at the medical examiner's office. Collectively, they've got a lot of wisdom. They're very passionate, dedicated individuals. So that has been really the biggest part of helping me get up and running and up to speed on things.
All right. So you can go and learn a little bit more about her. She's talking about this new facility. This is their webpage. You can go and look through everything that is available for public consumption. And that's where the video is linked also. So if you have any questions, you can go there. That was the commissioner that was interviewing her. So that's just a little side note. So let's get right into these autopsies. And someone had a very good point. And autopsies being able to be corrupted is a huge problem. You don't need to be a doctor to sign off on one. And that position isn't an elected one. It's designated by the government. And I do agree, Private Gemini. But I will say this also. If you look, and this is just a throw in, here's a freebie. If you look at some of these investigative reports, if you look at some of the ISP reports, some of these reports were written not on the same day. So it gave people enough time for the narrative that they were going to allegedly plant in our minds. So go back, look at all the records. You have to look at dates. You have to look at timing. It is so important to look at these things, but that would be a huge indication that something maybe was not right. So let's get into the autopsy. Here is 75 freaking pages. Thank you, Lion Mom 3520, for becoming a member. And definitely thank you so much for that super sticker. Is it Karma's Rain? Karma's Rain, is that right? I love that. I love it. Thank you so much for your support on our channel. We appreciate it. And we are a community that shows up and looks at the truth. So welcome back, Nesters. Grab your coffee, grab your notes, grab your eagle eyes, because we are going to do something really important. It was on the fly. Like I said, we're not looking into rumors. We're not looking at social media posts right now. We're looking at the real deal. This is what they released to the public. This is part of S1. I've been waiting to see this for a while. And we're not looking at what somebody heard from somebody else or 4chan or anything else like that, but I've got some great content for tomorrow. We're looking directly at the actual exhibit filed by the state of Idaho regarding this doctor and the autopsy findings. Now, hugely, before we begin, nothing tonight is intended to I can't even talk. Sensationalized tragedy. That's not the goal. Nothing tonight is intended to disrespect any of the victims or families, and nothing tonight is intended to accuse anyone. Our simple goal is to understand what this 75-page document actually says, because understanding evidence is not the same thing as agreeing with the narrative. And distinction matters. So, let's go. All right. Now, it just came out. A lot of you have not seen this exhibit, and I kind of glanced over through it before I turned on the live button. So we're just going to go step by step, and I'm going to enlarge this just so that you can have a better view. And hopefully that is a good view for everyone to be able to see. Let me move this over so it's not cut off. Drop a 1. Yes. Okay, here we go. This is probably the best view for everyone. And I do appreciate your patience, because remember, my lives are unscripted, real and raw as they get. So here it is. I'm going to take off the chat for a second while we go through some of this. And then we're going to dive into questions, because that's how we find truth, is lots of questions. If you, in fact, see something that is of interest, drop it in the chat. Let's not spam. I've got my mods on standby. Good to see everyone here if you just dropped in. And let's go through these together. If you have a question, drop it in the chat. And I agree, Gemini. Either way, the position is the government. They sign off on autopsies, and what they say goes. So I totally agree. So this is S1A, the exhibit the state filed. And first they're going to talk about Ethan Chapin. And the summary of case findings is multiple sharp force injuries, and see the toxicology, which is a separate report, which I find very interesting because remember, what was her name? Oh my gosh, I just had to pour some water. What was her name? Oh, Kathy Mabbitt. Kathy Mabbitt had said something very interesting about toxicology. And here we see this toxicology as a separate report. So, doctor says investigative reports indicated that this 20-year-old male, Ethan Chapin, was found deceased at his girlfriend's shared home. 3 other occupants of that home were also found deceased. This is her opinion. Her little short, simple opinion. And definitely bullets for dinner. Hit the like button. Come on in, hit the button, swipe down, come back. So we're looking at it and it says post-mortem examination showed a well-developed adult male with stab and incise wounds of the scalp, face, and neck. And yeah, that's what Mabbitt said, that the toxicology was totally, not relevant. Okay, so wounds of the scalp. So perhaps the hair on the ground is actually scalp residue, which we have said for a while. Face and neck, 4 neck stab wounds. A stab wound to the upper chest, 1. Incised wounds of the upper extremity, 6, 11. And stab and incised wounds to the lower, that's 17. Now, I'll save my commentary. Associated, I don't want to get too spicy, Phoenix, because I don't think I took my blood pressure pill today. That's not a good idea. Associated injuries include perforations of the jugular vein, subclavian vein, and subclavian artery. There were no evidence of natural disease that would have caused or contributed to death. Postmortem toxicology test showed a blood alcohol concentration and amphetamine level of, we knew that before. We knew that. But I know the early rumors was he didn't get his head shaved. Was he going to be allowed back into the fraternity house? Does anybody know for sure? Have we seen any fact of that? Was this Ethan's night to be hazed? Was this allegedly kind of like coming back into the house? Were they going to let him back into the house? Does anybody know or have any solid factual information about that? I don't think we do. So to say that would be, was it revenge for him not getting his hair shaved? I don't think this is like legitimately revenge. Okay. 4chan wants people to think Barry and Loach did the hazing theory. That's what I thought too. But, we all have opinion. We all have free will. And let's just be open-minded tonight. As long as you guys don't start cussing each other out in the chat, getting belligerent, you guys can hang out. We're not going to ban anyone unless you're like really spamming. And if you're trolling, you're going to get the troll song. So don't do it. So let's see. She signed off on that. Very brief, very quick. Background information. He's 20-year-old male, found deceased at his girlfriend's home. 3 other occupants were there. Latah County Coroner's Office requested an autopsy to further investigate the death. Observations. They have a sealed body bag number. And, interesting point. Hey, Kathy, good to see you. Interesting point Phoenix makes about the injury to the scalp. Was that possibly EC's hair? Absolutely. I have always said that, how do I want to phrase this? If you are in the middle of some type of robbery, what's the first thing that people come in and they say in the middle of a robbery. Drop it below what you know it to be. Drop it what you know it to be. Typically, in a robbery, they would say, put your hands on your head, right? Typically. Everyone hands up. And if Ethan was trying to protect himself and they were going for his neck or his head or his scalp, your common instinct, your human instinct is to shield yourself and your face or your head. That's the number one instinct. It's ingrained in every single human. And I believe it possibly may have been, obviously speculation, it could have been Ethan's own scalp. They may have got his scalp. Confirming this report against Ryland Nolan report, the autopsies were done the 16th, the same day the sheets were transported to MPD and ISP. Correct. It wasn't, they didn't even log them into evidence until the next day. And that whole chain of custody, I believe, is hosed. And we don't know that, Susan. The hair was not reported. And if it was tested and reported, we still don't know to this day. We still don't know. So let's look at this. The body bag tag was named Ethan Chapin. The tag number were written on a piece of blue tape affixed to the outside of the body bag. A piece of green tape bears what is that? Meteorological case number and notation indicating the body has been x-rayed. Okay, to make sure there was no residue. Now, do they put, during an autopsy, do they actually put the body in an x-ray machine? Why would they notate that the body has been x-rayed? Why did they x-ray his body? The body had been x-rayed. Any residue, why would they put him in a x-ray? I don't know if that's standard procedure for your county, your state. I don't know. Well, that's a big question mark. An identification band bearing the descendant's name, birth date, and tag number encircles the right ankle. An identification band bearing the decedent's first name and last name, initial, encircles the left ankle. There were no external evidence of medical intervention, so they didn't try to save him. Fractures, okay, broken bones, maybe, yeah. Is it standard procedure, Tiger? I know I have a nurse in here, Dina. She's also a mod. She would probably know that too. Looking for removal of bullets. I mean, we can speculate. Yeah, absolutely. Clothing and personal effects. The body is received clad in a pair of white athletic style socks. A brown paper bag is secured over each hand and means of silver duct tape. Jewelry includes a white metal pendant on a black cord around the neck and a black bracelet on left wrist. So he was indeed, let me move my mic because if I'm going out, it's probably because I turned my head. So the body that is well developed, well nourished, adult, light complected male who weighs 228 pounds as received, measures approximately 75 inches in length and appears compatible with the reported age. The body has been refrigerated and is cool to the touch. This is tragic, Kathy. A young, healthy, athletic male. The worst thing ever. I mean, if you think about it, and this is from a parental perspective, you have a young, handsome male heir. He still has another brother to the Chapin name to carry on that legacy, that name. But if you look at it from legacy standpoint, now he only has one heir to carry on the Chapin name. And that's huge, especially for people and parents and victims who lose a male heir in a family to carry on the family name. It is it's heartbreaking. The body's been refrigerated and is cool to the touch. Rigor mortis is receding in the muscles of the jaw and extremities. Fixed dark pink liver mortis is present over the posterior and right side surfaces of the body, except in areas exposed to pressure. When first viewed, blood is caked over the neck and the left ear and dried in smears and rivulets over the face, chest, and arms. So, what does all this mean? Yes, multiple force sharp injuries, the head, neck, face, chest, arms, legs, major blood vessels, the jugular vein, subclavian artery, and those are serious injuries. Those are very serious. The report also documents injuries to the hands and the wrist. And now I want everybody to remember something. An injury on the hand is not automatically a defensive wound. And I'm no expert, but I know enough. The determination requires interpretation. And when investigators see cuts on the hands, fingers, wrist, and forearms, they don't often ask, was this person attempting to protect themselves? I think it's a given, right? Because I just explained what typically happens in the middle of an assault. You protect your face. You protect the most important parts of your body. And if Ethan indeed was in bed lying down, he probably went into a fetal position to protect his organs, his body, his face. That's human nature. The scalp is brown, wavy, and measures up to 5 inches in length. 5 inches in length. So his hair was pretty long over the crown. And the iridids, what are I don't even know what iridids are. Hold on. Appear hazel. The eyes appear hazel. The corneas are translucent and white and conjunctive and clear. And no hemorrhages are identified on any of the face. I'm sub reading this over just to give you an idea. His eyes, his face, his skin, and his oral were intact. The nose and ears are formed. The teeth are natural and in good condition. Facial hair includes a trimmed mustache, so that he did have a mustache that night, and long stubble on the beard distribution. So he did have a mustache and beard that night. Okay? So that couldn't have been him on that Linda Lane footage. I didn't see any facial hair on the individual that walked in. Facial hair includes the neck is asymmetrical without masses. The trachea is midline. Thorax and abdomen are well developed. Chest is slightly concave. The abdomen is flat. The surface of the back is free of lesions. So this is just a warning. Just a warning, everyone. This is talking about his male parts, and everything seems to be normal. His member is circumcised. On the right shaft of his member, it's approximately 1/8 inch bloodless area of skin erosion. Okay? Extremities. The upper and lower extremities are well developed and symmetrical, without absence of digits. He had all his fingers, all his fingernails. They're short with smooth edges, and his toenails range from short to medium length and are somewhat irregularly trimmed. Identifying scars, he had a scar 1/4 inch diameter, circular, hypopigmented scar on the upper right chest. I wonder if he had that scar before. I'm going to put a note on that. The wounds are described in an arbitrary order, which does not imply sequence or severity. Wound tracks are described for a body at rest in the anatomic position. Okay, so one entrance of his, obviously 4 to the head and neck, one on the scalp right above the ear, and it's about 1.5 inch to 1/4 inch. Linear swab, wound orientated from 7 o'clock to 1 o'clock. So the 7 o'clock end is squared and the 1 o'clock end is sharp. One end is squared and one end is sharp. Discontinuous 1/16 inch red marginal abrasion is present. So what would be squared on one end and the other end is sharp? Then it says at the 7 o'clock, there's a laceration ends inferiorly from the anterior corner of the wound. Hold on a minute. Let me get a good diagram of this. Hold on one second. Give me 1 second. I want to understand this. What would be squared? One and a half inches long. Like a scrape, a mark. Tissue, force is applied at an angle. So a tiny tear extended from one corner of the wound. Think of it as a small secondary split to the skin. But what would be square-ended? Often discussed in blade characteristics. What would be square? God, that would be a great discussion. A hatch? A hatchet maybe ends in a squared shape. Philly girl, yes, they x-ray a body, yeah, to see bullets, any other weapons, or like the end of a knife, right, break off. Yeah, Nona Ryan. For the x-ray to locate foreign objects, document trauma, bones, breakage, absolutely, concussions, all that stuff. Let me see. Maybe a hatchet? Okay, so this is a little graphic, but all I've done is ask my chat GPT to show me what this means. So if you are not in a place where you feel comfortable seeing anything graphic, I'm just going to give you a warning real quick. A mallet hammer. I don't know. But I'm going to put this up on the screen. This is just a fair warning. I'll give you a quick note. If you don't want to be here to see anything like this, I'm just asking my chat GPT. I put that exact wording in there and I wanted to see what it is. And this is what it gave me. So it looks like the description would be above his left ear at the 7 to the 1 o'clock. So it's a gash. Okay. So the 7 o'clock is the squared end and the 1 o'clock is the sharp end. That's the wound orientation. And the wound runs diagonally from the 7 to the 1 upper. So that would be, obviously, if someone was standing, they were standing from, that would be left-handed. No? I'm just asking questions here. If you were going to cut open a watermelon and you're right-handed, you would go from right to left. A left-handed individual goes left to right. Hold on a minute. Would this be a left-handed person for this type of injury? Let me just ask. Left-handed, or I'm thinking that. I'm not afraid to, you can't be reliable to determine if the person was left or right-handed, but it looks like perhaps this individual was left-handed. This wound does not allow a reliable conclusion that the attacker was left-handed, but it's possible. Or what someone just said, a grazing. Could that have grazed? Wow. So if you look at the wound itself, it's triangular, red contusion, widest superiority. 7 o'clock end is squared. 7 o'clock is squared, and then it's sharp at the other end. Interesting. And that's the depth and the length, and it's subdural space around the brain. So that was pretty sharp. It went pretty deep. 1.5 is pretty deep. There was a lot of talk about a left-handed person floating around at the beginning. Oh, that's crazy. Jazz King, I don't even remember that, but that's interesting. That's very interesting. And remember, my lives are not scripted. We just deep dive as we go into it, guys. So just so you know. All right. So that's Ethan. Very serious. The report documents injuries to the hands and the wrists. So let's go back and look at this document. And let's get back to it. All right. So now we're looking at the rest of this part. The path, the wound travels along the skull, involving the scalp and subcutaneous tissue, temporal muscle, and glia. So the findings were moderate, associated subscapular. That's, yeah. Thin blood film and left. Depth and direction, it says downward and approximately 7 inches. Ouch. On the left side of the scalp behind the ear is approximately 2 by 3/16 inches. Incised wound, and yeah, okay. I don't know about you, but a box cutter? No, I don't think so. It's pretty deep. It's a pretty big knife. The wound travels along the skull, scalp, and subcutaneous tissue and the muscle. Finding there is a moderate associated subscapular, subgaleal, and temporal muscle hemorrhaging. All right, depth and direction, yada, yada, yada. On the left, the anterior ear. She just went down and deep into the weeds on this. And the left cheek passing between the mandible and zygomatic arch into the oral cavity. That is bad. That is very bad. What would possess anyone to do something like this? Seriously. What would possess someone to do something this awful? The wound track travels from the defendant's left to right and downward. Depth cannot be accurately assessed due to the wound track entering the oral cavity. I just can't imagine. It is just sad. It is evil. This is horrid. I can't even find the right word that would make someone do this to a human being. I can't. This is just vicious. It's why? Why? It just doesn't make sense. What would an individual do that's so bad to deserve something like this? Everybody loved Ethan. He was a great guy. What is the part that we're missing? Associated findings, there were abundant associated soft tissue hemorrhaging. Clotting blood is visible at the base of the wound, and the depth and the direction downward approximately 4 inches. 4 inches on that wound. Upper wounds, 6 extremities, 4th and 5th fingers are superficial incised wounds. That to me would be defensive. He tried to protect his face at least. I have a hard time to believe that these people were sleeping. I don't even know how Ethan was sleeping if he was hyped up. This is beyond evil. This is beyond evil. And I don't even know if there's a word for that. On the palmar aspect to the right hand of the hypo in our eminence is a superficial incised wound. It involves the skin. It involves the depth, the entrance, the path. The wound travels from the front to the back in approximately depth of 1/16 of an inch. Lower extremities on the medial right thigh is a stab wound from 9 to 3 o'clock. So 9 to 3 is obviously is horizontal, 9 to 3. Both ends are sharp. Yellow abrasion is present. And the margins of the wound ending up to be a 1/2 inch from 9 o'clock of the wound to 3 o'clock. Wow. 2 were at the right knee, like I told you. At the lateral right knee is a gaping linear incised wound. The lateral of the right knee. And in my opinion, this is just my opinion, it feels to me like the way the wounds look, Ethan may have been sitting down. And that's just my opinion, allegedly. Look at the wounds and the way they track. And she's describing it like a clock. And how in the world did I know that they were going to talk about this when I made this reckoning clock a week ago? I had no idea. Oh my God. When it says the reckoning clock, this is the time, this is the month, June is the answer, truth will be coming out. The reckoning is inevitable. The truth is coming out. The assumptions are going to be quashed. The house of cards is going to fall. Evidence and facts are going to lead up to more questions, and we are going to know the truth. And who would have known? The 75-page report comes out the 2nd of June. Who would have known? Wow. And here in this report, she's describing it as a clock. Oh my God. Whoa. Is this standard to describe an autopsy wounds like a clock? I don't know about most standard autopsies. Would have never even known this. Wow. All right. So he's got 4 more, 17 in total. The right to the left and back to the front. So obviously the left and back to the front. What were they trying to do to Ethan? When I did that live a couple weeks ago and asked the question, was Ethan tortured? This shows me clearly that, yeah, this was torture. This was torture, period. Period. Which just boggles my mind. So the wound travels from the decedent's right to left and back to front. I just, And then the posterior left thigh is a gaping wound, at least 3 intersecting stab wounds, measuring the length that they did in up to 2 inches. I believe he was sitting down. Was he possibly tied to a chair? Were they taken somewhere else? It's possibility. And that's exactly what I had thought too. This doesn't feel jealousy. This feels like interrogation. This feels like something terrorist would do. This does not feel like, wow, this is just crazy. This is, I mean, this is something that you see in one of those movies or read in a book. In take it as you will, torture, pure satanic, sadistic torture. That's what this looks like to me. Whoever has done this is enjoying this type of torture, in my opinion. Clothing, none. Based on characteristics, the blade was approximately 5 and 32 to 3 and 16 inch thickness. Well, you know what? Here I go again. Let me just ask chat. Can you make me an image? Now, don't blame me if your area has a data center and you're in a drought and they are taking all this resources. I am just asking a question to understand. We've never had a resource like this before. I'm trying to be as kind and as sensitive to this information. It's not easy. It's not easy for any of these families to probably learn that a 75-page report of their loved ones who have been taken from them, literally taken, and allegedly even tortured. For what reason? Someone was looking for something. And like I've said before, it has to be data. It has to be knowledge. You don't do this type of thing for, like I said, if Ethan, all these rumors, if Ethan had a problem, he could have called his parents and say, hey, I need some money, right? I've showed you receipts where Stacy had been sending the kids money. I don't think money was a problem. If Ethan had a problem and he needed help, he would have engaged his parents. I do believe that. So, consistent with the weapon analysis, this is the weapon that it has told me that this weapon that could have done all this damage. And the reason I show you this is so that you understand. Okay? Understand. So, trigger warning. Based on the characteristics of this knife, this is consistent with the blade thickness measured, and it doesn't give me the exact one. I'm going by what the medical examiner has said, not law enforcement. No one has found this weapon. Okay? This is the best possible blade based on blade thickness, range, and means. That is the example that it's given. All right. He had money. He seemed he was buying. Yeah, I don't think money was a problem. I don't think money was a problem. And that's my opinion. All right. So let's get back to the autopsy because that's pretty much it for Ethan. I believe he had no blunt force injuries to his head and neck. None. No blunt force injuries to his abdomen or thorax. He did have an abrasion over the right deltoid. That's upper chest. And it looked like a red abrasion. I don't know what caused a red abrasion, but there was a irregular red abrasion on his left hand and on the dorsal left wrist. It's a faint red contusion. So maybe right and left wrist were maybe even, perhaps, allegedly, maybe bound if he had those types of, I don't know. Let me look. Now, I know a lot of people are saying my audio is going in and out. It looks like my audio is fine on my end. So if you are having a problem, yeah, the deltoid is the shoulder, it's upper or back. Deltoid is the back. If you're cutting in and out, hey, I had a B plus in my A&P class, guys. Okay, so I know a little bit about the body, just a little bit. All right, and we're not here to speculate. We're not here to speculate. We're here to look at the autopsy and in real time, try to understand in everyday layman's terms, like a 5-year-old, what this means so that everybody understands. Okay. And extremities. Let me just take a look at this. Abrasions over the right deltoid, measuring 2.5 inches in length. The left hand is 1 1/8 of a red abrasion. And I don't know what a red abrasion means in this context. So if you do, and you're a nurse, I know there's deltoid is the shoulder. There is a lot of nurses in here that I have great relationships with that could actually, a burn abrasion mark is just one from using your massage gun. I looked it up yesterday. It could be, maybe. Yeah, it could be. It could be. That was a huge rumor. We don't know if that's true, but it was a rumor. And a red abrasion could be something, a rug burn, road rash when you fall off your bicycle, scraping your arm on a concrete, or fingernail scratch. That could be an abrasion, right? This one says it's curved. The curvilinear is curved. And that's what the report describes. A curvilinear, that means a curved looking, discontinuous, not one solid line, broken into segments. Red abrasion is a fresh scrape. Extends transversely means running across the shoulder and the right deltoid, shoulder muscle area, measuring 2 inches in length. So maybe fingernail contact, maybe someone was scratched him. Is that a possibility? Absolutely. It's a curvular, like a shape of a fingernail. Broken line into segments. That would be a fingernail, right? Over the right deltoid. If we break it down, you're going to find the answer. So curvilinear is curved. Discontinuous is not one solid line. It's broken into segments. Red abrasion is a fresh scrape. And that's the only thing I can think of something curved is a fingernail. A fingernail on the shoulder area. What can cause an abrasion? A weapon, but that's not a cut. Contact with someone's clothing. Maybe being dragged across a surface on your shoulder. I would say most likely, or less likely, a weapon, and more likely a fingernail or a foreign object. Yeah, Amy Lou, thank you. A foreign object. More than one weapon. Yeah. It could have been from an argument or a fight. Absolutely. Thanks, Dina. I appreciate that. Rage, anger, fighting, revenge. So curved, broken, and separate from stab wounds. So I don't know. It could be any of those if you want to choose it. So maybe a fingernail. I wonder if, we haven't seen the results for what was under Ethan's fingernails. They only talk about Maddie. We've not seen Kaylee's fingernail reports. We've not seen Xana's. We've not seen Ethan's. We've not seen any of those. And I mentioned this a couple of weeks ago, guys. No joke. We talked about, serial unalivers, killers, whatever you want to call them. I thought rug burn, a bite. No, a bite would leave teeth marks. Just nails. Wow. Oh my God. Oh my God. What was under Maddie's nails? Ethan's DNA. Was it not? What was under Maddie's nails? Ethan's DNA. Now, this could be, this is not far reaching. This could be, or it could not be. On extremities, there is a curvilinear right here, like a nail. A fingernail. Discontinuous red abrasions extends over the right deltoid. A shoulder. On the left wrist is faint linear red contusion. Could that be Ethan's nails under Maddie's fingernail? Ethan's DNA under Maddie's nails? It could be. It could be. Maybe Maddie was holding him back from something. Maybe trying to pull him away from an argument or a fight. I don't know. It's just speculation. Body cavities. The body is entered, yes, maybe, or pull him away or pull him off someone or get him out of some dangerous position, maybe. Possibly. Intact diaphragm separates the abdominal cavities. All body organs are normal, amniotic position. There are firmly adhesions between the left and... Okay, so there are filmy adhesions between the left lung and the chest wall. So basically, if you are a nurse or any type of examiner, let me just throw this in here. So basically, do triplets male share the same DNA? Now they would share, this is hard to explain. Yes and no. They wouldn't have the same fingerprints. They wouldn't have the same, like 100% DNA. It would be like triplets. Let's just use this as an example. It would be like triplets would definitely have their mom and dad's DNA. All three of the triplets would, but all of them would have different percentages, if that makes sense. So body cavities, obviously that's the chest and the stomach. There's two big rooms inside your body. We looked inside. This is like saying we looked inside both of those little areas and everything was where it was supposed to be. The diaphragm separates the thoracic and abdominal cavities. Think of it like the diaphragm. The diaphragm is the area, like a lot of women will have babies and all of a sudden they have like this problem with their diaphragm. So upstairs is the chest, lungs, and heart. Downstairs is the stomach and the liver and intestines. And this says the floor was still intact. Basically, everything was in good working order. And then it says there are filmy adhesions between the left lung and the chest wall. It just means that the doctor saw a tiny bit of tissue connecting the left lung inside the wall of the cavity chest. Okay? And and the only reason I know this is because I have two with asthma, and there's adhesions, and some people can get them from inflammation, irritation, or old infection. It doesn't mean that caused his death. Okay, but this is the report. There's 5 ml of, is that serosanguineous fluid in the pericardial sac. That's about 1 teaspoon, very small. It's nothing serious. And then the serous surfaces are smooth and glistening. That's a good thing. All organs were protected. It looks, everything's smooth, shiny, and healthy, clean like wet marble. And they just looked inside and basically said that the most important thing in this section is the description is not describing the fatal injuries. It's just saying all the normal organs inside of Ethan were healthy and good. Okay. The head, minus all the injuries. The skull is intact and normal. The brain weighs 1,600 grams. And everything was fine there. The neck was dissected in layers showing normal. Everything was fine there. Didn't have any massive issues with his neck other than the injuries. And his cardiovascular system, right there, smooth and glistening. Everything was good and free of any significant. It was a healthy 20-year-old strong male. And I've always thought about how he would fight his way out of hell, guys. And I could hear him say, no one would take me down. No one. How? Wow. Open along the lines of blood flow. Everything was good. Red, pale, brown, free of fibroids. Everything was good. His body was in good shape. Respiratory system, lungs are fully expanded. Looks good. Airway is white and foamy fluid. Most of them is yellow and tan. Liver was good. Great health. He probably ate okay. Everything else is intact, looks good. That's basically what the doctor was signing off on. Spleen looks good. You want to see that bright red, purple spleen, lymphatic system moving. Obviously, he exercised. He was an athlete, whether he played basketball professionally or just for the fun of it. Everything else, his pituitary gland was good. His thyroid was good. Size and texture, no, gross, nothing abnormal. Everything looked good. The Latah County Sheriff's Office, Coroner's Office was present. So was the police department and ISP. Everything looked good. They took photographs, x-rays, no fractures, nothing metal, nothing foreign in the body was identified. They collected the autopsy, released it to them, the clothing, the swabs. Everything was done according to the rules of their manual, their book, and submitted. And that was all for Ethan. That was it. And this is the retention of how long they keep it by their, oh God. Today is July 2, 2026. 3 years. 10 years, histology blocks. They keep microscopic slides indefinite and the archive on file. Here is the toxicology report. We already know what that came back in. Ethanol is blood concentration. That's alcohol. I just, that doesn't make sense. That was the additional findings. Amphetamine. They talk about what it's for. Ethanol. And she signed off on it. They also put the test, and that is the following tests that were performed for this case. There you go. There's the limits. All right. That was the end of Ethan's. No, it didn't. Why did it say bullets? Well, they have to put that in there. If they did an x-ray and it showed nothing, they have to note it. They definitely have to note it. No metal or foreign bodies are identified. It didn't say bullets. It just says no metallic foreign bodies are identified. All right. So let's see who's next. This is somebody else has a huge autopsy. This is Kaylee's. And we are just on page 19. So I'm going to skip a lot of this. We're going to get right into the nitty gritty. Summary of findings. Her passing was multiple sharp force injuries, blunt force injuries of the head, asphyxial injuries, and toxicology. See separate report. She was found deceased in the home that was shared with 3 other occupants that were found deceased. Fully well-developed female, 24 wounds to the neck, scalp, and whoever, oh my God, this just makes me sick. 11 to the chest, 3 to the upper. Again, it feels to me like Kaylee was sitting up. To the outer skull, teeth and tongue injuries. Same type of injuries as Ethan, almost. Blunt force to the scalp. Nasal injuries, fracture, scrapes on the nose and cheeks, bruising around the eyes, and pattern bruising across the lower face. There was no evidence of natural disease that would have caused or contributed to her passing. 21-year-old female was found deceased. Also, Latah County Coroner's Office requested an autopsy. The body was found in supine, which was on her back, in a body bag by the examiner. And the name was Mark Kaylee Gonzalez. Tag number, same as Ethan's. None. She had a short sleeve graphic t-shirt, a pair of gray and black plaid fleece pajama bottoms, gray footy. Oh, that was her gray sock. That was her gray sock in the bed. She only had one sock on. The t-shirt is blood-stained and brown paper bag is secured over the each hand. Means by, wait a minute. That picture in Maddie's bed, the other gray sock is Kaylee's. Hold on a second. Her sock is gray. They just described what her sock was. The sock in Maddie's bed was gray, so that was Kaylee's other sock. Wait a second. Do I have these pulled up still? Let me see. Yeah, I've got them pulled up. Hold on. That is Maddie's other. In Maddie's bed, there was a sock. I remember it was gray. Where can we get these from? I'll put them on the website, Justice for All, but they are on the website that was released. Was he right or left-handed? I don't know, but that's a good way that we could probably... I have not seen any autopsy food contents. No stomach yet. She had a white metal dieth piercing in the left ear. Okay, so a gray footy style sock, which was partially on the left foot. The t-shirt, blood-stained, brown paper bag is over her hands. Please read the chat. Hold on. Seen an interesting demonstration this past weekend. New program determines where a relic lives in a relation to a crime scene, only with more than one death shared that. A signature. Oh. I feel bad for them too. I couldn't imagine. Yeah. But you know what? When I started my channel, when I started sharing information, it had to been with integrity. It had to be with facts and evidence and truth. And this is just part of those facts and evidence. Sometimes this is really hard for these families, and I am not here to harm any family. We want the truth. I hope they have the right guy, because we still don't know how they got his name, how the DNA matches, no allocution, and he's sitting in jail for the rest of his life when the FBI, the ISP, and the MPD have made no connection to him. No connection. Was he hired? Did someone hire him as a hitman? Was the house a safe house and all these individuals were supposed to be guarded and safe? We still don't know the answers. That's why we continue to dig and look and ask the question. That is why. That is why we're here. We are still asking the questions that some people are too afraid to ask. So it's not any disrespect. Some of us just want the truth. And yes, BK's factually, the warrants, they wanted cryptocurrency. They wanted Koberger's cryptocurrency. Did someone pay Koberger to go and attack these kids? That's what I want to know. Let's get right down to the nitty gritty, folks. No more playing games here. If Koberger is guilty, we want to know how. We want to know why. We want to know who set this up. We want to know if someone paid him with crypto. Someone was looking for something in that house that had data. Was it crypto related? We're going to pull. The house of cards is coming down. We want justice. Was Koberger the hitman? Was Gideon the hitman? I'm just going to say it. I'm going to come right out and say it. I'm not a pro-burger either. I am pro-justice, and nothing has shown me that this guy is guilty. I want to know that our justice system works. I want to know that I can get a fair peer of my own if I ever have to go to a trial. Don't you? As an American citizen, don't you have that right? In my eyes, Gideon's more of a suspect than Brian Koberger at this point. Exactly. Who the hell is Gideon? Whoa, don't get me started, folks. No freaking way does this make sense. I'm not here to get $1 because the pennies that I make on my videos is not enough to pay my bills, guys. I'm not looking for clicks, likes, and views. I'm looking for truth, facts, and justice. Wouldn't they take their phones and laptops if they were looking for DA data? Absolutely. But what if that data, if you have data, you don't keep it on your laptop, you don't keep it on your phone, you keep it on high SSD drives apart from everything else, folks. If you know, you know. And you don't put them in your jewelry box. You don't put it in your medicine cabinet. You put it where only one other one other person would know where to find it. If anything happened to you, you would at least have one person know. One person at all times. If anything ever happens to me, here's my secret location. Gideon is a frat boy. I don't think Gideon is. Is Gideon a twin, a cousin, a nephew, a relative? I don't know. Those are answers that have never been discussed. Ever. Now, I'm going to go to real quick. We're going to run over here. There may be some graphic pictures. I just want you guys to know real quick. I'm just going to scroll through these. I know I've seen her other sock, and it was in the bed under the sheets. Now, I don't know if this is the actual picture, but the autopsy expert just examined Kaylee's foot and said it was a gray sock. I've seen this gray sock in some of these pictures somewhere. And yeah, if they wanted their data, there's the phone by the nightstand. There's her laptop. Xana, Maddie, and Kaylee all had the same Apple laptops. Don't you find that a little odd? Were they issued by the sorority? Did they buy them? Did they get them through the sorority? Is all the girls' sorority Apple laptops the same color? Because there's the technology and data. Do you realize how much data was in that house that was never taken? I've seen this sock in some of these pictures. There it is. There it is. There it is. There's Kaylee's other sock. Allegedly. Probably kicked off. So the coroner has one sock. The medical examiner has one sock. And here's her other sock in the bed. There it is. Right there. All right. So let's get back to this. So she's got left sock. found. All right. Let's go through this. The body is well developed, nourished, 168 pounds, 64 inches. And can please, everyone, for the love of God, I'm just going to say it. If any of these girls were pregnant, they would have charged with a different charge. Okay? Everyone, they would have been charged if any of these girls had been pregnant. So can we please close that, put that to rest? I've talked about this before. If any one of these girls was pregnant, they would have got another charge. All right? All right. Yes, Satire 777. Yes. The body's been cooled to the rigor mortis is receding in the muscles of the jaws and extremities. So rigor mortis is already set in by the time that obviously that they've got here, which is pretty awful. I don't know why they waited so long to call. So scalp hair is brown and blonde, straight, measures 24 inches in length over the crown. Extensions have been applied to the hair and upper eyelashes. So someone was right that Kaylee had extensions. If you are in the chat today, I'm just going to say it out loud. You were right. You were right. Kaylee did have extensions in the hair. No, they were not, honey. K-Cat's girl, no. If these documents are accurate, factually true, no. All the rumors about Ethan's manhood, his legs, etc., no. All right. Yeah, Gideon is a ghost. I would probably say that. He came down for the party. Dylan, Pete, and Gideon was the last to see Ethan at the frat house around midnight. Adam had a visitor. The last name of Gideon is Lauda. Are they related? I don't know. I can speculate all day so the cows come home, but I don't know. At the end of the day, we still don't know. There's a lot they're not telling us. There's so much. I've been working so much. I've had to catch all the replays. Reggie, come on in, honey. Come on in. Replay City. I love my replay crew, guys. I know you guys are busy working. Well, I'm busy working, digging in the trenches over here. So I appreciate you guys liking, hyping, viewing, playing, tagging, all that good stuff. Like I said at the beginning of this, I was going to make this my full-time job. We are going to get to the bottom and we are going to find answers. We're going to find answers. And he was everywhere that night, but never seen on any footage. How odd is that the author of the book that wrote Gideon was with Dylan doesn't even know who Gideon is. An ex-FBI agent doesn't even know who Gideon is. How can somebody write a book and not know one of the characters? I even put him in the book if you don't know who it is. Blows my mind. Yes, he does look like him. Yes. Watch the live that I did with changing his hair color and his eye color, and go back and replay, crew. I swear I would get down in the weeds and we would find answers. So to you in the chat, you guys are absolutely freaking amazing. Wouldn't be a nest without you. Extensions have been applied to Kaylee's hair and upper eyelashes. So yes, she had extensions. The eyes appear bound, the cornea clouded, white and conjunctive are clouded. The nose and ears are normally formed. She's a healthy individual, and she had dried around the lips, and white foam was present on the cheek. Anterior blood. I don't understand. I've never seen, and I used to work for the director of clinical services, guys, okay? And I'd have to go down to the morgue in a naval hospital. Let me ask this question. And I've seen a lot of autopsies. What would, and I don't know what this means. Maybe one of the nurses would. What would white foam around the mouth indicate? Fluid in the lungs? Air, fluid? Had a hard time breathing? Absolutely. You are so welcome. Do me a favor, swipe down, hit the thumbs up, swipe back up, come back in. Only mentioned once in the timeline. You're right, Peony. Thanks, Reggie. I appreciate it. No need for replay on my end. I stay up late. Nothing's good on TV. You got to stream. All right, so that's what I was thinking. The white foam is basically drug intoxication or poisoning, right? Can't you have white foam if that's producing pulmonary edema or frothy foam? I mean, that's just stimulants, toxic exposures. That's what I'm thinking. Trauma, bleeding to an airway. I mean, white foam could be any of those, and she indicates it's dried around the lips and over the right cheek. Trouble breathing, poison, stabbing the lungs. That's what I thought. I'm right on track. I just wanted to make sure. Wow. White fluid, breathing. Wow. Okay. So then it goes on to say a little bit everything is normal, developed, everything looks good. Both feet had a French tip pattern. Toenails were normal. Fingers are short, neatly trimmed. White polish on some of the nails. The skin shows patchy tan orange discoloration. Maybe from tan, I don't know. Tanning. A tattoo, wish you were here, on her bicep. That was the one she got for her grandpa. Now, I'm just going to give you a warning, guys. In my mods, I'll put them up there. This is just a warning. This may be graphic. And I'm not going to read everything word for word. I'm going to be very sensitive, okay? And I don't know what the next page reads, but I just want to give you a warning in case we absolutely accidentally uncover something, okay? I just want everyone to understand this. I haven't seen anything like that, Yvonne. That's a great question because the author, when he did his interview, he said they all had the same markings, like as if a serial killer was doing this. And I just thought it weird, but I'm not sure. Wound tracks are distributed for a body at rest in the anatomic position. Just so she made a note on that. 24 injuries to the head. Just a quick warning, just in case. I didn't see anything carved in them like a name. Mm-mm. And even if they did, they would not tell us. I'm just saying, in my humble opinion, I don't think they would tell us. So she had a lot of injuries to her head and her neck. You can read it. Kind of like what we just went over to Ethan. It sounds like Ethan and Kaylee were more likely to be hurt in the same way. That's what it feels like to me. Same J-shaped incision wound, slightly undermining, extending medially. Almost, instead of a 10 to 1 pattern, it looks like a J pattern. Maybe that's what Chris was talking about in his interview, guys. Maybe that's what he was talking about, the patterns. The patterns were alike. And that's probably how he had to get around saying they were like signature marks, right? That's what I'm thinking. They were similar, but he couldn't really say that. I don't know why, but that's my opinion. Scalp injuries, entrance, almost the same depth. Scalp, entrance, path, same, almost about the same. I'll put this up on Justice for All, and you guys can download it and take a look at it too. I'll do it as soon as I close this live out. Looking at the other incised wounds, they look pretty much similar to what Ethan's depth was, 2 to 1/4 inch. Track, path, entrance, temple, the 12 to 6 o'clock. The 12 o'clock end is squared and the 6 o'clock is sharp. So it had to have been the same weapon on Ethan and Kaylee. That's my opinion. Allegedly. 12 to 6. Could be right-handed, could be left-handed. I don't know. Depends on where they were and the location she was. Superficial entrance on 50. She goes into detail on all these wounds, guys. Okay. So 15 to 21, 22, 23. You can see all this. And in my humble opinion, I really do believe that one or more of these kids were targeted. The others were just happened to be at somewhere it's awful. They talk about her teeth. Sharp force defects. Tooth fragments and clotted blood are admixed in the oral cavity. A wire appearing to be part of a fixed retainer has been displaced and is resting on the tongue. So she must have had a retainer in her teeth area. Back, front to back, depth cannot be assessed. The anterior is 2 gaping circular incised wounds. Again, circular curve and linear is curved incised wounds. Then they go into the torso. Soft tissue hemorrhaging. More in-depth. Gosh. I just want to stop and say, if, the families are watching this, my heart goes out to you. Really. I don't care what you've done. I don't care what your past is. I don't care what happened up into this event. But your daughter did not deserve this. Your son did not deserve this. And I pray justice be served. I really do. I really do. And I hope that emptiness that you have will be filled with purpose and passion. I really do. Should they go into the upper extremities, clothing? And that must have been the shirt she was wearing, because it shows the corresponding with the stab wounds of the torso. Head and neck, they show more information. This is very descriptive, guys. Very, very hard to read. Very difficult to probably accept. The body cavities, they went in and looked. Everything is normal. The head is normal. Neck is normal. Cardiovascular system is smooth and glistening. That's very normal. Heart and respiratory system, liver, healthy kidneys, healthy lymphatic system, endocrine system, musculatory, fine, good shape, x-rays, no limb fractures. Probably she had a implant for birth control, and no foreign bodies, no metallic foreign bodies in her body. Everyone was available, and they took all the reports and they took all the samples, and that was her toxicology report. And that's the explanation, and that's the levels. And Maddie, multiple sharp force injuries, see separate report for her toxicology. Very healthy, found 13 to the scalp, face, and neck, 5 to her chest, and 10 to the upper extremitories. Again, why does it feel like these individuals were sitting up? Except for Ethan. Ethan may have been sitting up too, in my opinion, but they all seem to be the same. There was no evidence of natural disease. Of course not. These were young, healthy individuals. Young and healthy. Pisses me off. The bodies received in a pink one-shoulder camisole and a pair of black athletic-style pants. The top is bloodstained. The pants are wet in areas. A brown paper bag over the hands and duct tape, just like the rest. They preserve those so they are able to get foreign DNA in their nails, or if anybody of the perps were injured, scratched, etc. Jewelry, she had a metal ring with a blue stone on the third finger, what appears to be a black hair tie around her wrist, interlocking white metal rings on the thumb, and a white metal ring on the left index finger. Body is healthy. Scalp, blonde and brown, straight, measures 15 inches in length over the crown. Extensions had been applied to the hair and upper eyelashes. So Maddie had extensions. Eyes appear hazel, corneas are fine, everything else is good. Teeth are natural and in good condition. The neck is symmetrical without masses. Everything is good. Everything's good. Normal, adult, healthy female. Fingernails and toes are short with smooth edges and patchy pink nail polish on all the nails. Has all her fingers, all her extremities. Small tattoo of wings in the posterior upper left arm. So she did have a tattoo. And 13 to the neck and head. 13. If Maddie was sleeping, what would make someone, or maybe she was just highly intoxicated because we've seen the videos. Maybe she was. Maybe she was. But if she was so out of it, why would someone have to do this? Why? Why would someone have to do this 13 times? Why would they have to do it at all? Dark red abrasion is present among the edge wound edges extending up to 1/8. Just can't read this. I mean, it's pretty standard, exactly the findings like Kaylee's. Little bit of difference from the depth is still 1.5 inches. And they are describing a wound from 10 o'clock to 4 o'clock. To me, that is left to right. So that would be a left-handed individual. The 10 o'clock is squared again, and the 4 o'clock is sharp. Just like I showed you before, like Ethan's, it is going from, well, let me show you this one. Remember, I did this on the fly. So you're going 7 of the same. Why would someone have to do that? 7? Oh, God. I don't get it. Why? From the 10 to 2. Phoenix, if Maddie had extensions on her eyelashes, then why did they put false eye? Yeah, okay, Susie, let me go back to this real quick and I'll show you, honey. Hold on. It said, hold on, let me go back to Maddie. Extensions have been applied to the hair. Her hair. So that would be crown hair extensions and upper eyelashes. So extensions would be on her upper eyelashes. Now, I know some girls, and this is just speaking from a woman's standpoint, I know some girls who get their eyelashes done, and in between getting them done, what they do is they wear fake eyelashes, because if you think about it, the eyelashes that you get extensions on, they tend to fall out. And if you don't go to your regular lash appointment, I've done it, then you have to have some fill-ins, right? And if you don't get to a fill, then you just wear fake eyelashes to cover up all those little fills that you haven't had done. So just in case, there's some little bit of FYI in there. Okay? A picture of the sock, not a speck of blood on the sheet. I saw that. But then there's also pictures of the sheet where it looks like someone drug a body across the sheet. And I'll show you those. I've done several videos on those. Okay. I'm behind and currently on Ethan's head wounds. Okay, Chrissy, catch up. If you have to, put it on 2x and it'll get you caught up, no problem. And I've been on here for 1:37 and it's already 5 my time. So this is the cut between 10 and 2 that we're looking at real quick. So I just made this. I should probably look it over before I show it, but I'm just going to put it up here. This is the entrance of the wound, lower right cheek on a female. It's 10 to 2 squared. So it's 10 to 2 squared on the 10, 4 on the clock. So if this was the actual, I would say left-handed. Left-handed, folks. Again, I mean, it depends on where they were, what position each of them were in, but 10 to 4, sure, 4 o'clock end is sharp. 10 o'clock end is squared. It's squared. So again, to me, it looks like a 10 to 2, 10 to 4, sorry. I would probably say maybe if Maddie was on that side, I don't know. It just feels like sitting up to me. It really does. 7 entrances on that area from the 10 o'clock wound to 4. And then the wound track involves the skin tissue right to entering the oral cavity. And then there's another 11 wound is 11 o'clock to 7 o'clock, almost the same kind of path. 12 is 5 inches, somewhat depth. There's 5 to the torso. Again, from the 10 to 4, feels to me like it's a left-handed individual. Depends on where they were standing or where they were engaged. And then a 9 to 3 o'clock is the other entrance. 9 to 3 is horizontal. And then another 10 to 4, same person. And then a 2 to 8. 2 to 8 is a different angle. It feels like maybe Maddie was moving. Maybe she was moving. I don't know. I mean, God, I just want to have a crash out and say nothing makes sense. And then clothing, shirt worn by decedent, shows defects corresponding with the stab wounds. So she had to have been wearing that. Based on the characters of at least distorted wound, findings are consistent with the blade 1 3/16 to 1/4 inch in width and approximately 5 32 to 3/16 thickness. Everything was fine in her head, no injuries, 1,400 grams. Her head was fine, neck, everything was intact, no evidence or obstruction. Everything looked pretty normal, clean system, body. Yeah, healthy. Healthy. She's got a little bit of gallbladder, a little bit of stones without, the visible viscid bile without stones. So that's healthy. Healthy. Cervix are all there without abnormality. Uterus, fine. Spleen, good. Endocrine systems, they were all there, photographed. Everything was taken. They did everything by the book. Toxicology report, 282. I mean, if I had that much in me, I'd be out. I was a lightweight when I used to drink in the military, but I didn't do that for very long. Wonder if that's why the G's are at CrimeCon trying to solidify BK's story. Well, they have to for their investors. You heard him. They have backers. They have investors now. They got to prove them right. Motomax, all this talk about blood and guts before bed will probably affect our sleep. Yes. So I pray everybody gets a good cleansing, right? Everybody relax. Don't try to read something good. I'm not trying to be sarcastic or anything. Okay. I'm just telling you. I know that it's 5, 6, 7, 8 on the East Coast. You got about an hour. Doesn't sound like K-Bar Knife did this injuries. Multiple force injuries, abrasions, contusions to the head, torso, and extremities. So Xana is the only one that had these abrasions. This is Xana. Abrasions and contusions to the head, torso, and extremities. 23 to the face, neck, and scalp, just like all the others. Wounds to the chest, abdomen, punctures in the back. In the back. Someone got her in the freaking back. Not just the front. 25 in her upper extremities. Oh my God, people. That is 10. 35. 40. I lost count. Hold on a minute. This is absolutely disgusting. This is gangster. Okay? This beyond gangster. 67. Is that right? 23, 7, 4, 3, 5, and 25. 67. They couldn't have been in bed. No stomach contents. Nothing was shared like that. They couldn't have been in bed, and they couldn't have been laying down. They had to have been up. They couldn't have been 67, guys. And in the back. Why? This doesn't make sense. Why? It doesn't make sense. Healthy individual, spirited, smart, talented. Xana was the first of her family to go to college. Maddie was the first, wasn't she, to go to college? Hair, dark brown, wavy, measures 24 inches in length. Now, one thing I'll say is that everything Chris Whitcomb described as in brown, blondish hair, 7 to 8 inches, does not describe any of these females per the autopsy reports. Nothing. So if someone says one more time that, oh no, it was Xana's hair, I'm going to tell them, show me. Show me in the evidence reports. Okay? Show me. Because we just got done talking about Kaylee, right? We just got done talking about Maddie. We talked about Kaylee's blunt force injuries, asphyxial findings. The report references injuries to the head, the face, the teeth, the tongue, and bruising. Now, here's the statement from Kaylee's that got everybody's attention. Dr. Singh is expecting to testify in trial, and an unidentified object was present across Kaylee's mouth. Read that again. An unidentified object, not identified, not named, not explained. Now, naturally, people ask, what object? How long? What evidence supports that conclusion? What mechanism created that finding? Those are all reasonable questions. Now, did you guys catch that? An object across her mouth. I don't know if you caught that. And then we talked about a little bit about Maddie. Now we're on to Xana. Okay? And I want you, this is the one that I kind of highlighted. And let's take a look. Well-developed, healthy individual. Hair is brown, wavy, measures 24 inches in length over the crown. Eyes appear brown. Everything else is good. Anterior teeth are normal. Everything is in order. Everything is well developed. And here's the evidence of injury. She had no tattoos, no marks or scars. Beautiful. 23 to the neck and head. Again, same length. Same. Wow. I'm not looking at all these different injuries. I'm just looking at the same that we've just seen with Ethan, Kaylee, and Maddie. And if she mentions the clock again, I'm going to freak the hell out. There it is. 10 o'clock to 4 o'clock. Same individual. Same individual. Had to be. Had to be. Someone said a livestock branding iron. That would be interesting. We can all have our opinions. As long as you all aren't fighting it out in this chat, as long as you aren't cussing each other out, as long as you can stay civil, we're not banning anyone, okay? I just want you guys to understand we can all agree to disagree. And I agree. This is overkill. Jealous, demonic. They had to have a lot of hatred for humans or just these four, which I find it really odd. She goes and describes each and every individual injury. Each and every one. 11 to 5 o'clock. Both ends are sharp. This is sharp. It's not the one we had before where one is squared and one is sharp. So maybe there is two weapons now being talked about. Both ends are sharp. That's two weapons now. It's two individuals, or perhaps the individual changed weapons of choice. I don't know. That is just a speculation. Totally a speculation. And tooth 8 by the Universal Dental Numbering System has been sharply divided. They split her tooth. 9, 2 incised defects. I just want to say The people who did this, they are, excuse my French, fucking assholes. They are like the scum of the hell ground. Okay? And if you ever watch my channel, you have got to feel some remorse for what you've done. Because I pray the monster that you were to these individuals, I pray that monster finds you. I'm saying that. I'm pissed off at the evil that was done. I cannot imagine the parents feeling what they feel. I'm a complete stranger, and seeing this autopsy pisses me off to no end. You better hope that you don't ever pass the wrong person on the street. All right. And then it goes on to explain all these other ones. I will put it up on the website so you guys can look for yourself. The right arm and the elbow. You would imagine that Xana fought freaking hard. Hard. And it doesn't sound like, no, I don't think it is. It doesn't sound like it. It's just abomination, hatred, revenge. Just, not their first rodeo. And if somebody hired somebody to do this, now, I'm just going to say this with an open mind. If you just came in, you're an hour behind, put it on 2X. It'll get you right up and caught up. But I appreciate everybody being here. Now, I just have to say this because this has been on my mind for a while. When you think about the police knew that this car didn't have a front license plate, how many people went to All Know-It-All Google or Gemini or Chat GPT and asked, how many states don't have a front license plate? Anybody? I'll do it now. I know my state doesn't. Okay? How many states don't have a front license plate? 22 do not require a front license plate. 22 states, folks. Well, mine said 22, but Missouri just scheduled to drop it in August, and now it's going to be 23. But what is the closest state to Idaho that doesn't have license plates? What is the closest state to Idaho that doesn't have front license plates? Okay. Washington has front license plates. Washington does have a front license plate. Utah's close. Utah is very close. Utah doesn't require a front license plate. Oregon, I think Oregon requires a front license plate. I think Oregon does. I know someone's going to get it. The closest state to Idaho that you can just drive there in like 12 hours. Ooh, that's a good one. I think Nevada does. I think Nevada has a front license plate. You can drive there in 12 hours. Arizona. Arizona is the closest to Idaho that you don't need a front license plate. Colorado? No, Colorado requires a front license plate. Arizona does not require a front license plate. There's your answer, folks. Now, if this was a hired individual with a background of doing this type of crap, don't you think the cops would know by now who this was? I don't see Koberger as a individual who would maybe do something like this. But if it was, they need to show us how. They need to tell us why. You can't put an innocent person in frickin' prison for life for nothing. Arizona's about, well, it depends on if you're in Phoenix, it would take anywhere from 10 to 12 hours to get to Idaho. 10 to 12 hours. And here's the link. It's Justice for All. And I'll put these findings up there. And all I have to say is these freaking monsters will eventually be found out. And if these monsters were trying to steal, rummage, if you watched my live today, you're going to know where I'm going with this. You're going to know. And I'm sure that they probably didn't put everything in this report. So the sweatshirt worn by Xana is corresponding with the stab wounds of the torso and upper extremities. Did it even say what she was wearing? Hold on a minute. All the other ones did. Hold on one second. Did I miss it? She's probably the longest one. She's got 20-something pages. The wounds are described. No marks. Scalp. No. Did I miss it? Sweatshirt and a pair of underwear. She had no lower... Hold on, let me go back to this page. Again, it's all upper. All upper. Upper extremities. For all of them, mostly in the head, in the mouth. Except for Ethan on his knees. Or knee. Lower extremities. She's describing every single wound. Now this on Xana, left knee. Xana and Ethan had knee injuries. Five to the knee. Number 5 was knee. Five wounds to the lower extremities. The shin, 1 and 2. Calf of Xana, 2 injuries to her calf and 1 other to her knee. So right at the shin, 2 injuries. Her calf. And again, it is a curvular linear that is round. A round wound. A round wound. And it's barely deep. A round wound, barely deep. What would that be? There's no incisions. Only with the one on the shin, a linear incised wound. But the other wounds are curvular linear incised wounds. What would be a hold on a minute. Let me look. What would be a curvular linear wound? Anyone? Where are my nurses? What would cause a curvular linear? A sickle? A chisel? I'm sorry, Thumper Rabbit Hole. I am so sorry. It is. It is awful. An end of a golf club. That's the only thing I know. I'm a golfer. Believe me, I've thought about that. A curvular linear. No, I think they were Latah County sheriffs. If you go look at Latah County sheriffs that entered the house. What is this? What would a curvular linear object be? Curved, obviously. Crescent-shaped curvilinear. A curved knife movement, a moving victim during the cut. But Ethan also had one. Skin stretching during the injury, contact with a curved edge. A straight blade, curved blade, a moving victim, or the skin moving during the cut. It won't tell me. A kitchen knife, a hunting knife, a box cutter, a shard of glass. Curvular linear. Glass. Shard of glass. Broken glass. Razor edges. A sharpened metal edge. A knife blade. Another sharp cutting instrument. God, I keep going back to Dr. Turvey's. Someone was fighting and they threw a jar of pickles in the kitchen. He was talking about a case he covered where someone threw a jar of pickles. Curvular linear. That's interesting. Okay, so let me do this. Let me go back to the autopsy. Let me see how it ended. And this brings us to the back. Everything is force blunt. She had an injury on the back of her head. And it also said her autopsy had one other thing that the others didn't. And it said clearly, let me go back up to the top. Oh, where is it? Hers is the longest. What page was I on? Okay, here is. Is this it? Yeah, this is it. Abrasions and contusion of head, torso, and extremities. So she had abrasions. Everyone else had multiple sharp force, but yet hers is more like Ethan's. Okay, so here I was at 65. We're at the end over here, lower extremities. And then it says blunt force to the head and neck. She had abrasions, lateral. Above the eyebrow. Purple contusions on her left inside of the chin, like somebody punched her. Body is normal. Head is normal. Nerve, neck, spine. Everything else was normal. Respiratory system, liver, everything was normal. Healthy, young, beautiful individual. Everyone was present. Evidence collected just like everyone else. Standard 229 on the ethanol. Pretty standard. They give the instructions and it was signed off. And it added everything in here that she was a part of. Wow. I don't know about you, but honestly, it's odd that they release it the day after court was yesterday for the families versus WSU. And, you know, just talking about Xana, what stands out to me is defensive possible injuries. Because obviously it suggests an active interaction. It suggests movement, resistance, an attempt to block or stop injury. Again, that's opinion. That's my opinion. Okay? You're going to notice things too when you look at this. Toxicology. We all know they were drinking. It was a Saturday night. Madison, the liver, it reports injuries to the liver, the lung, the blood vessels, the chest. That's consistent with what the state said on a single edge knife. Again, consistent, not identified, but consistent. And I guess the biggest takeaway from this is the one knife theory. That one knife theory, the state exhibits states that a single large blade could account for the wounds observed on all 4 victims. But that statement matters because that's part of the state's theory. One knife, one source, one general inquiry producing instrument. Now, whether a trial or not, jurors probably would have said, you know, we don't accept that. Something else. There's another question upon another question. This didn't add any clarity for me. This just has me asking more questions. And that's opinion, right? That's my opinion. But there's something else I noticed while reading this. Evidence collected at autopsy included hair, DNA cards, swabs, fingers, clippings, clothing, biological samples. It was pretty extensive. Now, here comes the question. You know I'm going to ask it. Where and how, if any, was any of that really tested? Because again, we don't see under Ethan's fingernails, we don't see under Kaylee's, and we definitely don't see under Xana's. Right? Was it tested? Why wasn't it tested? Was it match? Why didn't it match? Those are separate questions from what was collected. And that's where investigations spend years, sometimes decades, looking for answers, especially with DNA. You see headlines all over, everywhere. I posted one yesterday on my channel, guys. 39 years an innocent man spent in prison for something he didn't do. And that blows my mind. 39 years. Now, it just blows my mind how someone would have to spend 22 hours ago. I posted this 39 years in prison and he didn't do the crime, but he paid with his time. An Ohio man declared innocent after 39 years on death row, the longest wrongful prison. We're just looking for answers. We're asking questions. And I'm going to wrap it up tonight real quick with this. People tell stories. And I want everyone to remember something from this. Documents don't tell stories. People do. Documents provide pieces of evidence. And as streamers and as watchers, viewers, whatever you want to call it, our job is to understand those pieces, not force them to a conclusion, not to force them into a narrative, not force them into someone's belief system. Just try to understand them. One page at a time, one finding at a time, one question at a time. I didn't go all down into the weeds with all these injuries. This was a general, let's take a look at the documents. And here's my final questions for you all. Did you see anything tonight that surprised you? If you did, what was it? What was it? Do you think the media got it wrong and ignored the truth? Drop it in the chat what you think. I want to hear everyone's perspective. Your feedback matters. Because here at Phoenix Talks, we don't rise through rumors. We talk, we ask questions, and we are still listening for what's hidden. Thanks for joining tonight. Thank you for my mods. You guys have been awesome. Thank you for being civil in the chat. Thank you. Oh my goodness. My boss was called for jury duty in Latah County. They asked her if she believed labs can ever make mistakes. When she said yes, they dismissed her. Wow. I remember in the old days, all you had to do was say, hey, I believe in 2A and I carry concealed and I've got my permits, and they would get you off the jury fast. They would definitely not want you on the jury, especially if you're informed. Okay? Wow. Thanks for that comment. Thanks for enlightening us to know what's still going on. Even if you think DNA can be wrong, I'm sure you'll get kicked off the jury. If you know more than they want you to know, I'm sure you're not going to be on a jury. Kaylee's real name. What else is a lie? Don't know. I'm just going to call her Kay for now on. I don't know. Samantha said her name is something else, and other people called her by her name, and we're getting the... I call it a Darren movie. A B movie. We're getting the B script. Someone else has got the A script, and we're not getting the truth, folks. But we're going to keep digging until we do. The next one. Tomorrow it is just only for the members only. There's going to be some graphic content. Please use your best judgment. I wish you guys a good night, and definitely clean up, watch whatever that brings joy to your soul. And to the families, I am sorry for your loss. And I just wish we would have just a little bit of the truth. So if you're ready to talk truth, we're ready to listen. Be well, everyone. Be well.
You see it? It's all coming down. Let's go. The world wakes up, a brand new stage, new promise written on the page. We saw the cracks, turned a new age, tore up the script, got out the cage. The roots dig deep, they can't be stopped. A solid truth that can't be topped. For every voice they try to drop, we rise up higher from the crowd.
It's just the beginning.